5, 4, storm, 2, 1. Plunderbirds are go.
Oh God, what are we doing?
Hello, you're listening to the Robot Wars History podcast, where we chart the development of the show and the British robot combat scene in general by looking at key teams and bots. I'm your host Luke, and with me as always are my co-host Dan.
Hello.
Nick.
Good evening to you.
And our special guest, TaleOfTheToaster.
I knew you didn't know my real name. I was waiting to see. No.
You ain't been around long enough.
TaleOfTheToaster.
Oh, okay.
My name's Isaac, if you wanted to.
Okay. That's interesting information. Oh God.
Yes, and
you
today we'll be covering the Plunderbird series.
Yes. Oh boy.
So, I mean, I think it was better when it was puppets before it became a CGI
Yeah.
show. I mean, it just lost a lot of the charm.
but the
It was better when it used tracks. It lost a lot of the charm when it went on.
Yeah,
wheels.
I think. Well, no, because with the CGI series, they've introduced that new weird black plane-looking one that they can use to make a Plunderbird S for Series 11. You know.
Okay, scrap that. Yeah, Plunderbird S should be the new. No, it lost a lot of charm when it got a weapon.
Rather than just wedges.
I mean, it had weapons in Plunderbird 1 form. We'll get to that in just a second, but
yeah.
Can we not?
1 second later, so should we start this off with Plunderbird 1, lads?
Speaking of Plunderbird 1, Plunderbird debuted in the first series and was built by the International Wreck crew, Mike Onslow, Brian Kilburn, and for Series 1, John Dilley.
Oh yeah.
It was a basic box wedge with an array of interchangeable weapon pods.
Yeah,
a laser-guided spike, which you're trying a bit too hard for Series 1, fellas, and a circular saw.
Yeah, because everything in Series 1 had a circular saw. Because nobody had quite figured out that circular saws are shit weapons unless you're Pussycat. Statistically, it weighed 77.7 kilograms, very specific.
Well, you would be if you were
100 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 36 centimeters in size. Had a top speed of 7 miles per hour and a turning circle of 0. A ground clearance of 8 millimeters.
Wow.
And its power came from a 12-volt motor, with its weapons coming from the interchangeable pods. Yes, Plunderbird 1 had the interchangeable pods. Which...
Plunderbird 1 is absolutely the hardest they ever tried with one of these machines, I feel.
Yeah. Perhaps
and for the least
hard.
reward.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Apart from Series 3. Yeah, Plunderbird, in its gauntlet run, it got stuck really on, and in Jonathan's words, was hacked by Shunt.
Yes, this was in my notes. Literally, it's like, hacked. Plunderbird is being hacked. JP, tapped. Yeah, you continue.
It got the tiniest little notches cut into it.
Shunt wearing sunglasses inside and whacking its axe against the computer keyboard. I'm in.
No, but I mean, like, yeah. Shunt's axe back then was truly some... I could get hit by that axe and feel completely confident nothing would happen to me.
Series 1 Shunt versus TR2. Axe only.
Oh god.
Despite these being like competitor podcasts, we have covered Shunt in every single episode so far.
Yeah.
Just every single time we've got that little mention about how bad Shunt was at some point.
Either Shunt or Bash.
It bears repeating, really.
It does.
But this is probably the most disappointing run that Plunderbird had, because at least in this case it was working, and then it just immediately gets shoved into the side of the ramp by Shunt. Because one thing you'll notice from Series 1 and 2, that people driving the house robots are just assholes.
Yeah.
And they even included it on the Robot Wars The First Great War VHS, just to show everyone how annoying it is that they picked the most interesting robot on team in the whole heat, and they let 2 weaponless wedges, Cruella and WYSIWYG, go through.
Oh, well, you know, they couldn't have...
They wanted to pick on Plunderbird.
WYSIWYG was a fucking stock bot as well.
And they decided to knock out Plunderbird 1 in the first round by picking on it, and let WYSIWYG go an extra half a metre And well, what we saw was what
Yeah.
we got.
There's no justice.
And
No
Plunderbird
justice.
was
And
gone.
I mean,
In-
it almost got back in though, because there was a reasonable chance that Dreadnought was in this episode, and Dreadnought did what Dreadnought always does and caught fire because it moved. And there's a good chance that Dreadnought's going to be washed out because it's just burnt up its insides. And I mean, to Mike Gonzo's credit, he was reluctant to take the freebie. But they repaired the machine and went on to suck at everything in that episode. So if there's an alternate timeline where Plunderbird 1 actually...
Including fighting a lightweight.
Yeah, Plunderbird 1 actually went through in this case. They didn't fix Dreadnought in time, and Plunderbird 1 probably actually gave a decent account of itself because it wasn't a terrible robot by Series 1 standards.
Oh yeah, real talk. I think it could have beat Robot the Bruise.
Probably.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, it'd be able to wedge under it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, as a bit of compensation, they did win Best Design, and I mean, like, that's kind of fair. I mean,
Yeah.
interchangeable weapons, that's pretty goddamn unique for 1997.
Yeah, I'll agree with them on that one. That's a pretty deserved award.
And then it was followed by Plunderbird 2, which was a pretty big improvement on Plunderbird 1. It had thicker armour, it had more powerful tracks, and it had a new bulldozer blade to allow it to get under bots better, which was very loosely attached.
According to the show, it's not a bulldozer blade. It's a pneumatic steel screw ram.
Look, I don't think you can. No, I don't think you can call it that just because it wobbles in every fight.
Yeah, but they had I mean, John Dilly left and Ken Burt joined the team. The weight went up to 81.3 kilograms. It was bigger, 110 by 90 by 37. Faster, with a top speed of 10 miles per hour. Still had a turning circle of 0. Ground clearance was apparently now 20 millimeters, but they recorded that very weirdly on the board, so that may have been wrong. And it now had two 12-volt batteries. So it's an improvement in basically every way over the previous one.
Yeah.
It also had a song.
And yeah, that song. We'll get to the full song in a bit, but before every match, they show like a 3-second clip or something, and before their gauntlet run, they like show the first 5 seconds of the performance, and then just do a hard edit into something else. It's really jarring.
Yeah, let's just say that the production values on Classic Robot Wars were a bit shit in the first couple of series.
Oh, it was endearing though. In Series 2, those production values so endearing.
Yeah, it's true.
And if you hear like the uncut version of the Series 2 Plunderbird song,
oh, we get to it in a sec. In a bit.
It's like,
oh god,
yeah, okay. If there's
you're going to play it, aren't you?
Nick, edit it in.
I shall do.
No, but yeah, Plunderbird it takes a Sentinel route and just ends up in the pit.
It dodges past the Sentinel quite easily, actually. And then just drives.
You mean the Sentinel dodges it? The Sentinel decides if it's going to be a shithouse or not. Nothing else does.
Yeah, I mean, and then
the man in the Sentinel was feeling merciful.
The man in the Sentinel was probably being intimidated by the people, by the team.
The raw masculinity of the international rec crew was too much for him.
Indeed. And after avoiding the Sentinel, or rather being avoided by the Sentinel, it drove itself straight into the pit.
Yeah. To be fair,
which was still pretty far into
exactly,
the pit, but was also fifth out of 6.
10.5 meters.
But when you consider how many robots got like pushed back, or in like Death Track's case, went backwards. You can't really blame Plunderbird for going in, really, can you? Seed it for the next round.
It's the only place you're safe.
And the show, I don't recall the show being particularly consistent on whether the maximum distance you travelled counted or the distance you finished at counted, because I think there were a couple that
it was finished.
Yeah, but I think there were at least a couple where they went further, got pushed back by the house robots, and were let through anyway.
Caliban certainly wasn't.
I would need to watch series 1 and 2 again to be certain on that, which is understandably a
There's your problem.
Well, I'm steadily watching more and more of those old series as I research for these episodes. So,
By the time we finish, you'll have watched it all again.
yeah. But
yeah, when we having that Ramesses the Second podcast?
After the Onslaught one.
Ramesses might legitimately make a notable episode just because it wasn't completely garbage, which is a big ask in series 2. But no, I think the highlight is gonna be shitbox of series 2 with Mr. Psycho, because yes, Luke did specifically ask him to be on that episode, basically so we can make him rant about piece of shit. So
yeah, basically. My favourite bit about the Gauntlet run is the follow-up interview where he's just in the pit shouting violence.
Silence!
How dare you! We're back and we're gonna stay! More violence!
If Craig Charles was ever ill, they just needed to hire Mike Onslow to be the presenter for their day. He'd do a perfect job.
Yeah.
Craig Charles was immune to illness. You do not silence that man.
Until man had too much.
Until series 7, where he clearly had a sore throat.
Yeah.
He just had he just had a severe case of drip.
Are you ready to see 13 Black?
Yeah.
I mean, come on though. To be fair, if you were given the chance, imagine Mike Onslow going, "Do you want to see some mayhem?"
Yeah.
That would have been a. That would have been.
I want to get Mike Onslow to front a hardcore punk band and just get him shouting violence, and then a mosh pit starts.
No. They should have got Mike Onslow to present Extreme.
Definitely.
Yes.
There was not enough
anyway,
of Plunderbird and Sir Chromalight in Extreme.
Yeah, meanwhile, next in Plunderbird's combat history was actually one of its proudest moments.
Yes.
It's King of the Hill trial. It manages to push off both dead metal.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to dive in and correct you there. It was no event called King of the Hill in Robot Wars.
Well, what was it then?
King of the Castle.
Yeah. Scrub.
Silence!
Silence!
Get your head out of King of the Hill.
Oh god. Yes.
Look, I never played King of the Castle.
But it manages to push dead metal off of
It was sumo times 2.
Basically.
Yeah.
It was sumo with dead metal and bash. And fortunately, I think Bash had been getting into Shunt's alcohol supply because it basically drove itself off after Plunderbird had already dispatched dead metal. So
Jesus Christ, Sergeant Bash, he has some really bad moments, but this is probably the worst.
Sergeant Bash's
I'll let dead metal off
Sergeant Bash's
slightly.
entire career was a bad moment.
I'll let dead metal off slightly here because he kind of got caught on the edge of the sumo ring, and Plunderbird came in with a really good wedge drive. But Sergeant Bash just does that thing after a hard day where you just face plant into your bed. It was so bad.
This is why Bash ended up going into politics. He'd still be a better Prime Minister than Theresa May. Hi-oh! Then Plunderbird 2 made it to the arena and went up against Enzyme and basically stomped it, pretty much.
Yeah,
I feel like we can
basically.
talk about the semi-final and the heat final at the same time because they were basically the same.
Yeah, literally. There was one drive on Enzyme. There was one drive on the Mule. We saw 2 minutes of action in 2 battles that went to judges' decisions. Doesn't that say quite a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to see the 2 fights overlaid on top of each other.
They
to
mirror
see what
perfectly.
changes.
No, but Enzyme gets shoved into the PPZ and just kind of stays there a while, and then it reaches a judge's decision, and then heat final against Mule, basically the same thing happens.
Yeah.
I do love,
But without the flame pit.
I do love the interview before that fight though between Julia and Roger Plant, where she asks him how hard is it going to kick the Plunderbird team, and he says off the stage, into the pit, into oblivion. And she follows up with into orbit, and he says I'll think on that, which now sounds just like foreshadowing, in all honesty, because Series 5...
I feel like I feel like every Roger Plant interview is him like, yeah, I'm gonna absolutely destroy the opposition, and then he gets like owned.
Yeah. Oh god. Such an unwieldy machine he ended up creating, but
Yes.
yeah, it was.
But yeah, that basically sees Plunderbird through to the semi-final, and we finally get to see the full song.
Oh yes,
Oh god.
it was worth the wait. It was a banger.
Was it? I still wouldn't call it the full song. Like the entire rip's been put on YouTube, but it's actually kind of like creepy and edgy.
Yeah, it's
way different to all the other ones.
Well, yeah, the other ones are kind of like musical jaunts. This is like some sort of weird pounding industrial techno or something.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's been playing in the background of this entire podcast.
Maybe it has.
No, it's like.
Oh god, we.
Nah, dude, I listen to that shit whenever I'm in the gym. Gets me fucking pumped.
Nah, man. What?
Plot twist: it has been playing the whole time, just on like minus 78.
It's been steadily getting louder and louder as we've been talking.
I've got that shit on like.
Rather than 30 minutes of silence, this one's just going to end with 30 minutes of the Plunderbird song.
Oh, fuck's sake.
I've got that shit on like 12-inch vinyl, man.
Oh, God.
I might actually do that one day. I might actually get that ripped onto a vinyl.
God.
Other side the Shremek song.
Yes. God, that fucking song. God, we're going to have to talk about that. We are going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Talk? You mean sing?
No, I mean talk, because I cannot fucking sing. So.
But for now, I'm going to move on to the semi-finals, and Plunderbird, in its entire history on Robot Wars, has done 3 gauntlets, and it's never gotten higher than 5th place in any of them.
Nice.
Becoming last in 2 of them.
Yes, unfortunately, after all that build-up, Plunderbird gets basically shoved back where it started in the gauntlet and goes out.
Because the House Roboteers are dicks.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go for the pit for a second time here, but they got caught up on all of the utter muck in the middle. They had a sphere, they had bricks, they had the pit, they had drunk shunt. Oh my god!
God, they made the sense.
They even tried to frick over Hardvark because they realised Plunderbird 2 would be way more interesting than Hardvark, but they couldn't manage to push it back far enough because it was too huge.
The gauntlet was a terrible idea.
Well, the gauntlet was an alright idea, but they were never consistent. It like changed every episode.
The semi-final version of the gauntlet from Series 2 was awful.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm surprised they didn't just shove the Skittles in there just all over the place. Like, they shoved everything in there. It was ridiculous.
There's a pinball bumper over there.
The car door release.
Yeah.
Introducing a brand new house robot, the second Sentinel.
Oh god, I'm surprised they didn't try putting the Sentinel on the side of the arena.
They just call it the Sentry.
Yeah. Oh god.
No, you start every battle.
The
No,
Watchdog.
no, on every battle, the one unobstructed area just has shove in there. Just takes you right back to the start. Because it's like 300 kilograms.
Yeah. Oh god. But they won another award this year. They didn't get Best Design this time. I think did Razor get that this year, or was that Series?
Yeah.
That's not a surprise. And they won the Sportsmanship Award this time.
I mean, anyone who comes in with their own song deserves it.
Yeah. It helps that they were like, while they clearly mugged for the camera, they were. You could tell from just that bit in Series 1 that they were good guys. Like
They were the most entertaining team in the show.
Probably yes.
Every moment they're on screen is lovely.
This is our robot Blue. We are from the planet Blue. That is low key the funniest
Oh
team.
dear.
No, but I mean, like, the thing is, Plunderbird 2 was a legit good machine. Like,
yeah, it was.
what kind of gets lost amongst all the like showboating is they knew how to build a good bot when they wanted to.
Yeah, it's just that. Well, I think they knew how to build a good bot for Series 1 and 2.
Yes.
Whether they knew how to build a good bot for Series 3 and onwards is Debatable.
I think series 3.
Plunderstorm.
Plunderstorm is again a wedged ram.
Yeah, so let's talk about Series 3.
I am talking about series.
Yeah, so let's talk about Series 4.
No, but like they returned for Series 3 with Plunderstorm, a wedged. It's another wedge rammer with a circular saw, and it cost, according to the team, £4,000.
They got some very
broke on entry.
They got a very good return on that. It weighed.
I'm sure it's probably a combined cost for all three Plunderbirds thus far.
It was
Can opener costs £25,000 technically.
It was a lighter weight than the previous incarnation. It was 75.5 kilograms, 120 by 65 by 40 centimeters cube. Obviously, its speed was of course faster than time. It had a ground clearance of 0.1 centimeters. Its power is not very clear. They just wrote electric, and for weapons it has a front scoop. It was supposed to have the saw, but they were asked to remove it because it was hardened steel, and this was in the same heat as Pussycat. That's a.
But yeah, they came up against Thermidor, and they basically didn't work. They kind of like spun around a bit and then died.
Well, one of its tracks broke immediately, so it had no drive on one side, and then when Thermidor rammed it, that just broke it down entirely. So
Money well spent.
yeah, according to Mike Onslow himself, he said we had a mechanical malfunction and decided to leave and fix it. Some people might call that losing.
And then it was also followed up by the actual song, "The forecast's bad, you better keep running, it's going to be tough because there's a Plunderstorm coming next year."
The Plunderstorm has officially dissipated.
And like, this was the last appearance of Ken on
Yeah,
the team as well, when actually he had the last laugh. He was the funniest one there in the end.
Yes.
With his extra wisecrack. But what's even funnier is how, you know, Team Lobster, they've got a hilarious looking lobster robot, and they follow on from this mad song with just the most basic interview imaginable. It's just Philippa talking to a young child. "So did you do well?" "Yes." "Would you like to do well in the next round?" "Yes." And then, like, David Harding just goes, "We're through, we're pleased."
Yeah, it's not like they had to work for that.
So, after that,
That was Plunderstorm then.
we get.
If it was called Plunderbird 3, it would have done fine.
Yeah, if it had been called Plunderbird 3 and painted red.
It contributed to the best episode of Series 3. I can at least say that much.
But yeah, after the failure of Plunderstorm, they arrived with Plunderbird 4, is it?
Yeah, Plunderbird 4, and they arrived in a goddamn Chinook.
Yeah, they arrived in a helicopter.
And just like the Gauntlet, they couldn't drive out of the helicopter.
Oh god.
But no, after arriving in a fucking helicopter, Plunderbird 4 was built from the shell and chassis of Plunderstorm, but this time they added it was a hydraulic claw, but I don't think it ever crushed anything.
No.
Plunderbird 4 weighed 80 kilograms, so its weight had gone up again. It was actually smaller, 96 by 65 by 40. Had a top speed of 15 miles per hour, so it's slower than time now. A clearance of 2 centimeters. It had 2 electric motors. Whether that was what they meant last year or not, I don't know. It was armed with a wide array of weapons. It had fear, surprise, brute force, and a slicer dicer. And apparently, its shell was made of aeroplane aluminium.
My favourite thing about their pre-interview. No, wait, it was what Jonathan Pierce says during their introduction is their hobbies are dressing up and looking hard. And, like, those are respectable hobbies, in my opinion.
Indeed. I would quite agree there.
Yeah, I mean, I do that all the time. I look really hard. Don't mess with me.
And apparently, I think it's Ben's hobbies. No, Brian's hobbies. God, who's Ben? No, Brian's hobbies are curries and beer, which again, respectable hobbies.
Definitely.
Yes. They
Oh, I bet he could handle it.
they bring up this thing in this episode about Brian Kilburn being like partially sighted or something.
Well, driving's
Is that
not that
actually is that true?
Yeah.
Or
Believe so.
I mean,
it's hard to tell with these guys.
yeah.
They
I can
referenced
believe
it like
be
2 or
honest.
3 times over the shows.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
I'm guessing it's probably
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It's not like we ever saw his eyes. I can believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But
You know, I mean, if you were nearly blind, you would hate yourself and you would take the piss out of your life, and that's exactly what he's doing.
yeah, true.
You know, it's better than just holding up and feeling sorry for yourself. So Brian Kilburn is an inspiration, and I want him to build his own robot.
Yes.
And come back.
So it's Melee was against Fatboy Tin and Vercingetorix.
yes.
So basically a free
This
win
is
because
quite a
Fatboy
fight.
Tin was there.
Now, I have to get this in there. Can we talk about the fact that Fatboy Tin pushed Vercingetorix back at the start, then got a broadside drive on Plunderbird, and then, because they're both so threatened by it, they had to double team it and then push it into Sekilolon. So unfair. We were robbed of a true great, and that was its only appearance.
Good.
But it's also worth mentioning, this was a battle where Plunderbird 4's Slicer Dicer Hydraulic Claw Plunderbird 4 Crasher actually
Well, it moved
worked.
downwards.
The only
It
time.
moved downwards. It kind of held on to Fatboy Tin,
It held
and that was it.
it held something.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Guys, haven't you played Robot Wars Extreme Destruction? That proves the weapon worked.
That was Plunderbird 5.
Sorry, spoilers.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. There's a fifth
Well,
one.
if you want to see Plunderbird 4 in a video game, go check out my 5-year-old Let's Play of Robot Wars Advanced Destruction, Pluggity Pluggo.
Oh god.
Still collecting 10p in ad revenue.
Oh yes. Nick's pocketing all the ad revenue off of this.
Oi, oi.
But yes, Plunderbird aids in the shoving of Fatboy Tin, and otherwise just does fuck all in this fight.
Can I just say
Let's
something?
also mention it is a seeded robot.
Oh yes,
here. 26.
yes.
I guess that's fair. That's fair.
I
Semi-finalist in Series 2.
oh god, Series 4 went up to a larger number of seeds, and as a result, there are quite a few that you look at them and wonder.
I mean,
Sakura.
you do not need to seed 1 in 3 bots. I'm sorry, but you don't.
I like the idea of 2 seeds per episode, but only if both of those seeds actually deserve it.
Yeah, you'd rather do it in a
Sakura.
12 heat series, obviously, as we saw in Series 5,
Centurion.
which was mostly fine.
Yeah.
The way I see it, they could have just had 8 robots in each heat like they did in the last series. I don't know why they trimmed the numbers.
I guess because they
And then
didn't.
the number
Well,
of
I guess
seeds
because
would
they
have
didn't want to
made
do
sense.
head-to-heads, but for some reason they didn't want to do 4-way melees.
Yeah, maybe.
Can I also remark that?
Supposedly there was 1,000 entrants for that series, according to Jonathan Pierce.
Yeah, but how many of those entries were probably like literally just a wooden box on wheels with like a
Yeah, I
spike
mean,
on it?
Fatboy Tin got in.
JP,
One of my potential employers in a job interview said he was going to apply for Robot Wars, so I questioned him for the details, and yeah, I kind of got that impression.
yeah.
Can I also just
I don't think he was going to get a wiki article out
Can I
of it.
just remark, this is a fight where Vercingetorix manages to take out
Oh.
both bots. It like helps upturn Fatboy Tin and then it tips over like Plunderbird. That's just to give you an idea of this heat, this melee.
And what makes it
Yeah.
worse?
Vercingetorix gets a double chaos.
Yeah, and what makes it worse is
I think it's earning itself a podcast.
what somehow
probably not.
makes this
the most-
terrible melee
Lo-
even worse.
Very much like Onslaught, the most notable thing that Vercingetorix ever did was get its ass kicked by Razor in the Southern Annihilator. So
Yeah, but it didn't lose to the Bodmin Community College twice.
no, that's true.
Excuse me, Common Getorix has an official combat win over Bigger Brother.
What? Oh wait, was that the Extreme tag team?
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
Vercingetorix, Poundland Mortis.
It also beat a Series 7 Heat winner, Saint Aggro. Quite the impressive library he's got here.
Apparently. But yes,
But no,
at the end of this fight, after Vercingetorix flips Plunderbird 4 back onto its wheel, tracks, all three robots manage to end up on the floor flipper. Plunderbird 4 flies the least distance, it just sort of gets bounced off the back, and then just stops working entirely after that.
That's some credit to its name. Flew the least distance on the floor.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even properly on the floor flipper, it was just sort of holding on to Fatboy 10. So...
But no, this victory saw them through against Nightmare.
Yep. And
It's not an incredible fight, I must admit.
well, Plunderbird basically repeats what happened in Series 3.
Yeah. This fight definitely says more about Nightmare than Plunderbird. Plunderbird, sure. We accept Plunderbird's always going to lose a track, but Nightmare takes forever to flip a robot that's lost drive on one side. Oh, God.
No. The thing is, we see Plunderbird get its claw into Nightmare, and it does nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even how much force must that fucking claw have had behind it? Like a kilogram?
Crusher from Series 3 had a more powerful claw than Plunderbird 4 did.
Incredible.
This was kind of an example of where the seeding system worked against the favour of Series 4, because Vercingetorix was clearly the second best robot in the heat, which wasn't really saying much, but it was a lot better than Nightmare and Plunderbird 4, but because Plunderbird had managed to get itself a seeding, they couldn't do the Spawn of Scotta Plunderbird 4 draw that they tried to do in 3 different episodes.
Yeah. But
and instead Nightmare got the free pass. Like, that's worth expanding on, actually. Plunderbird and Spawn of Scotta were in the same... Well, Scotta's Revenge were in the same heat in Series 3. They were also in the same heat again in Series 4, but they still couldn't get that dream matchup. So in Extreme, they literally went to the effort of putting them in the same tag team terror battle, and then Plunderbird didn't even take part.
I'm really not sure why they didn't just have an Extreme Vengeance battle, which was just the Plunderbird guys decide to fight the Spawn Again guys for stealing their look.
Yeah, the Spawn
They
Again.
wanted it.
Yeah, the Spawn. The thing is though, like, by the time you get to Series 7, the main Spawn Again guy is legit like jacked, so he manages to pull it off better than they did, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, but he's just
Check him out in
extremely.
Nick Weston's thumbnails.
He's just extremely ripped in CV7.
And his robot was extremely ripped as well. In fact, its ram ripped its way right out of its own flipper. Oh god.
But yeah, there's not really much you can say about Plunderbird 4. It's just... Well, it's not much you can say because they return with almost the same bot.
Well, no, it had a completely new body for as long as it lasted. But they did fight in one of these Series 4 side events. They went into the tag team terror with Bigger Brother and did fuck all. In fact, they did so little in the tag team terror that we are not going to be talking about that this time. We're just going to talk about that when we cover Bigger Brother.
Yeah.
Which will be like Series 5 time.
Alright, I guess it wasn't fair to say it's the same bot, because they've got, like... I think they've got a different claw setup. They're faster, they've got better drive power, and now they have wheels.
Yes, the Plunderbird 5 was introduced in Extreme 1, weighed in at 99 kilograms, was 120 by 100 by 40 centimeters, so it's a pretty big robot. Had a top speed of 20 miles per hour, a 24 volt electric motor in it, and its weapon was apparently called the Plunderfucker. It was listed as having a flipper, but that we never saw that move. Apparently, it was removed because of the weight limit. And they, as we said, they entered Tag Team Terror, and Mike Onslow drove into the door of the arena, broke the door, and also broke Plunderbird 5.
Yeah.
So,
Rather key to note that this is the most damage that a Plunderbird machine ever did.
yes.
Yep.
And
Not gonna deny.
just, I mean, you've got to feel sorry for the bigger brother team in this case, though, because when Dietor's tag team partner broke down, it was replaced with Pussycat, the runner-up of the previous series. When Bigger Brother's tag team partner broke down, they replaced it with Major Tom.
And what's worse about that is that in the whole Tag Team Terror, Pussycat did nothing. And it still won, but it was all thanks to Dietor.
Series Extreme and Series 5 Dietor was a force to be reckoned with. As
I would even argue that Pussycat should have lost them the title against Steel Avenger and Sir Chromalot. Sir Chromalot? Suicidal Tendencies.
yeah, we'll be talking about the Chromalot momentarily. But yes, I got to say I do love the little routine they did in front of the broken door, with just them talking about, well, he was a bit eager to get into the arena. Should have waited for them to open the door first. But oh god, I love the Plunderbird team. They're so good.
Yeah, it's funny because you can tell it's so scripted, and yet still they make it funny.
Yes.
It's like they didn't need to record that extra banter scene, but it added
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, I mean, it was extreme, so there was a lot of unnecessary banter scenes, but yeah.
I think you could have waited until the gates were down first, boss.
But then they had a vengeance battle with Sir Chromalot over who was the better singer. Oh no, that was the Megamorg one. This one was what? Why were these?
It was just who's the better showman. Like they basically broke
Right.
the
Can I just say,
wall, acknowledging the fact that they were the showman.
can I just
of the
say, this was
show.
a battle over who's the best showman, right? The best the Sir Chromalot team could do is bring along some cheerleaders. Plunderbird came in a fucking helicopter. That beats any cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hang on, they arrived
That was
in
not
a limo.
a limo.
Yeah.
That was like one of
Give
that
it
was
some
like
credit.
that was one of their cars.
That was one of those funeral limos.
Yeah, Plunderbird clearly.
That's called a hearse.
No. The hearse is the big one that the coffin goes in. They always have those two slightly stretched cars that drive in front of it or something. But yeah, they spent most of the.
There's a new business for Uber and Lyft to go into. Limos only for funerals.
But God.
But so they took on Sir Chromalot, and they were winning.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then they spent most of the fight avoiding each other. Chromalot gets its one flip, and Plunderbird's claw is barely getting a grip on it. When they eventually do get a hold of it, they try to pick Chromalot and drive in themselves.
But this episode does come with one of the greatest Robot Wars moments ever seen. The Street Mech song.
Of course.
Shall we go,
Absolutely not.
lads?
No.
3,
No.
2, 1. Oh, we're big boys and we build big toys. We're handy with a spanner. If it don't work, we go berserk and hit it with
Nick,
a
edit
hammer.
this
Oh
out.
God. Shane Swan is listening.
No, Nick needs to take this time to repost his Robot Wars shunt posting meme into the vocals of the podcast.
Oh God.
I'm not going to tell
Oh
it for
God.
him.
No. They made this song, and years later, Shane Swan took a great amount of inspiration from it. Dude, have you got a stream egg being asked by the Plunderbird team, whose robot never ever had a stream egg?
That's just how they work. They had to be.
No, of course he's got one. Somewhere.
But
The mini bot could self-right if you pushed down on the back end. It would flip itself back over quite nicely.
I had most of the mini bots in Plunderbird 5 very accurately. Actually, the claw broke. So it's like
I thought that sounded weird. Like Plunderbird 5 mini bot, very accurate. No, those two don't go together. It was the most incorrectly sized one since Chaos 2.
I would. What was the one that was worse? No, I would argue that Pussycat is the worst sized mini bot.
Okay, fair enough.
It had one of those very very screen accurate features in the breaking claw. It was like Razor's pullback wings falling off. But then we get to the House Robot Rebellion, and
what a lineup! Honestly, what a lineup for Rebellion: Stinger, Scorpion, and Plunderbird.
We're gonna beat those house robots and then have a go at each other.
Yeah, that was the only
anyone.
good thing about the House Robot Rebellion. This was an incredible waste of potential. Of all the robots,
there was a point there where it became apparent that the Scorpion team still thought their robot was good.
Yeah, like they apparently use the House Robot Rebellion as a learning experience to get better for future battles, which they would go on to not have in Series 1.
Yes.
But it says a lot when in the next UK House Robot Rebellion they go from having Plunderbird and Scorpion to having Gravity and Behemoth. They clearly learned their lesson.
Yes, because Plunderbird 5 does nothing in this battle. It gets a surprise flip from the Arena Flipper, which it went off as if it was the reboot series, just as soon as something drove onto it, and was then immediately dunked in the pit by Shunt.
And this was the only footage of Plunderbird 5 I could watch until the whole series was put on YouTube. Because none of its other fights got on the DVDs.
Wow. No.
And I was desperate to see Plunderbird 5. There was two robots which I had toys of, which I really wanted to see fight, but they weren't on any of the DVDs. Plunderbird 5, because it was only in the House Robot Rebellion and did nothing. And the other was Exterminator, which I couldn't watch in any form, apart from the Series 7 heat, but that was a pretty different machine, NGL.
Yeah, well, the toy was the Series 4 version of Exterminator, so, eesh.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's a lie. I got to see one clip of Chaos 2 flipping it over in a montage. That Exterminator had battles against both Hypnodisc and Chaos 2, and it didn't get in either of their respective DVDs.
But the other fight Exterminator had was with Mega Morgan. This is the most extreme thing.
Exterminator?
You've made a critical mistake there.
Exterminator, mate.
No.
You called it Exterminator.
So that time in Series 7 when Exterminator flipped Mega Morgan out of the arena.
All your digressions are fucking with my mind here.
So,
I meant
next up in the Plunderbird podcast, we go to Series 7. Plunderbird beat Tsunami in a wonderful heat final affair.
Plunderbird could have.
Tsunami almost had Plunderbird 7 out of the arena, but they just got too cocky, and then Plunderbird comes charging in and buries its now Razor-style crusher into the hydraulic ramp.
It's so powerful, it can...
leaving it And then eventually it sticks its claw into Tsunami, lifts it up, and gently drops it outside the
impressive display.
God, what I wouldn't give to see a crusher that could do that. That would be so good. And all we've got now is Draven.
Soldier Ant could have ooted D if it just got a better angle.
For real though.
So Plunderbird 5 versus
it's the most no, right, but this fight is the most Robot Wars extreme thing ever. They fight over who is the better singer.
Oh god, and the funniest thing in this fight though is the sheep when it gets torched by Bash and just sort of deflates.
Yeah, my excitement along with this battle draws on.
Then the sheep gets hit with the axe by Shunt because Shunt sees a thing with a head and has to kill it. And yeah, surprisingly, Mega Morg is barely moving by the end of this fight, and Plunderbird 5 wins a battle.
And it did get a decent grip at one point. Like, the Crusher didn't crush at all, but it at least slotted the weapon in a gap in Mega Morg's armor, so it looked like it was doing damage.
Yeah. Plunderbird 5 won a battle. And it would go on.
But Craig Charles had to say, I was just pushing and shoving and calling names. I'd show you some highlights, but there weren't any.
Yeah. He's not wrong. And of course, Plunderbird 5 would go on to do great things in Series 5 of Robot
We've only
Wars.
got 2 Plunderbird 5 fights left. I think Series 5 can be saved for the end because I know not all of you might have seen this fight, but I feel as though we have to talk about Plunderbird's fight in Extreme Warriors because actually this was one of Plunderbird's best fights, really. Who here has actually seen its fight with Rosie?
Take it away.
Not me.
Yeah, so basically this was the US versus UK tournament in the American Wars. Eventually that's won by Pussycat, despite it being the only UK rep left. Indeed, Plunderbird 5 doesn't win, but Rosie the Riveter, although it hadn't won a heat at this point in time, it would later be a grand finalist, and it is a pretty seasoned and good competitor. But Plunderbird 5, having done pretty much nothing in any battle in Extreme, actually takes on this decent American robot and fights it to the end. In fact, it was winning for the first half, I would say. Then, unfortunately, it loses drive on one side, but still manages to hang on to a judge's decision, which is all in all pretty respectable, because Rosie the Riveter, he was just getting buried in the ground because Plunderbird had damaged its front wedge. And it was a close judge's decision. It went against the Plunderbird boys, but they did well, and it was coated in the UK flag, and it looked kind of seasonal and nice.
Well.
Powerful stuff.
But they lost.
Yes.
Speaking of powerful
S3! Yeah, Plunderbird's first fight in Series 5 is against S3, probably best newcomer? Yeah?
Absolutely the best newcomer.
Just this
the best new
vertical spinner.
Yeah, I mean, technically Sting 1 and Sting 2 existed, but nobody cared about
no one
those,
cared, yeah. Yeah, this is...
They were shit, let's forget them immediately.
This was a complete mismatch. I mean, Plunderbird was doomed the second it came in that arena.
This is my favourite destruction battle. I like S3 more than Hypnodisc, I think. And this episode is a very good example of why. And yes.
Yeah, S3's weapon takes apart Plunderbird's armor as if it was made out of like fortune cookie shit. Like it just completely it just comes off with no resistance.
Yeah.
Calling back to the whole, when I was a kid I really wanted to see Plunderbird and Exterminator in battle. This was the real reason why. I saw that picture online of Plunderbird 5 getting shredded by S3, and all I'd ever gotten to see of S3 was it losing to Razor. So I wanted to see that so badly, and it took many years. But what
its fight with Razor isn't a very good one, because it starts well where Razor buries the claw right next to the disc, and that looks like it would be good, but then S3 gets stuck. It gets stuck to the claw for the whole episode, for the whole fight, and just gets paraded around the arena. And it's like he drives it over to each of the house robots. It's like, you gonna knock this thing off? No. Okay then, I'll just keep it. But yeah, that's not a fantastic fight. But this, oh god, this is such a brilliant fight.
Yeah, S3 enters in style. It completely tears the shell apart with no trouble. Like basically rips off the claw and then knocks an entire side of wheels off loose.
Yeah, they fall out completely when Killer Lot picks it up. Oh god.
One thing you can say is it shows how good S3 is. That the drive that Plunderbird had on S3 bar the mousetrap battle, is the only time in either of its two heats that S3 was in any danger from its opponents.
Yeah.
Literally.
But and Mike Onslow leaves the show with a very fitting. We now have a cluster bot. Yeah.
It's called The Mole and Excavator. That's a
Oh god,
Thunderbird's joke.
they
For those
they
who
could
don't
have
get it.
they competed in techno games, didn't they?
Well,
Yeah,
this
they
is
actually did well.
Look, this isn't the Techno Games History
that was
podcast,
their
alright?
knack. They could do. Yeah, exactly. So no information. All we can say is they were actually quite good at building robots for other purposes than
Yeah.
fighting.
Did they keep the international rescue style thing, or didn't they do like Stingray or something, or Cap?
I don't think they were in costume, but they still acted.
That's
Yeah.
because they were, dude.
Yeah, that it wasn't an act.
Yeah, I mean that is themselves. I'm not trying to say that they're portraying themselves.
Any man,
as
any
a
man
character
who's
or anything.
any man who cites his hobbies as vindaloos and beers is not putting on any character.
No, that's that was them. They were not playing characters ever.
No.
Um,
Yeah, that concludes Plunderbird. I mean, it was quite a career. Like, the more they hammed it up, the less work they put in the bot. But frankly, I'm glad. Imagine if they just entered like decent bots with no personality. Fuck no, we've got enough of them.
yeah,
They added.
I mean, I would suppose you could still have the personality with a decent bot, but
Yeah.
there was some. I think the fact that they had the we are really badass and powerful and all this, and the robots were shit, added to them more than having an actually good bot would.
Like the classic, the classic kind of classic thing, like when describing the differences between BattleBots and Robot Wars is more like theatre, and these guys prove that entirely. Like, they are entirely theatre.
Instead of saying which
Indeed.
is the best robot they had, we should pick their best song.
It's got to be the Shriemek one. No, actually, I think I'm gonna go for the. Now that I think about it, I think I'm gonna go for the
yeah.
Series 2 one, just because it's so absurd.
I like it, but I also kind of plagiarised the song from Extreme when I was in school, and people thought that I'd come up with it myself, even though I never claimed that at any point. And I kind of gained a reputation as a rapper for a while, just because I was singing the Shriemek song in class. And then I had to break the news to them that, this isn't my song, right? And they're like, oh.
And that was
I
the
see.
end.
That was the.
That was the end of Toast's popularity.
I think we should give credit to the International Vet Crew as one of the top British hip hop acts of the early 2000s.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they shouldn't have released Robot Wars Android Love as a Christmas song. They should have just got the Plunderbird boys on the job, then they would have beat Bob the Builder.
Amazing.
Christmas number one.
God. I've been trying to repress knowledge of Android Love since the last time it was mentioned, and now I'm going to have to do it again.
That's the theme song to the House Robot episode.
Oh god. I'm just going to have to not listen to the House Robot episode when it goes live then.
Spare a thought for me, I have to listen to it all editing several times.
Yep.
Here's my last note. Watch Plunderbird 5 versus Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good
sure,
battle.
I'll do that. We've obviously next week Napalm. Oh god, we just made Nick try and talk for an hour about fucking Plunderbird.
Oh.
Now he's got to try and find things to say about Napalm, and because if you could think of a robot more incompetent than Plunderbird, it would be Napalm.
He's going to be saying, hey, Palm, when his face goes into it.
No, fuck you all, Crosby boys
I
represent,
can't
we
even,
out here.
ironically get up for the Napalm episode. It's that depressing. Everything about it's depressing. The robot's depressing. The team after a while are depressing. The guest we have for the episode is depressing, especially.
Who do we have
Wow,
for that
fuck
episode?
you.
Is it Toon Ganondorf?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, fuck you, Toon Ganondorf, apparently.
No, but
Well, maybe you should save that for another time, eh, then, lads? Let's cut this off before we hit 60
how-
minutes.
Oh, God.
we've spent nearly an hour talking about. We've spent longer talking about Plunderbird than Killatron or Roadblock.
Yes. Well-
Obviously, it had more than 2 series.
Yeah.
I guess Killatron technically had 3.5, but I've been Tale of the Toaster. Check out my channel for soccer let's
Right,
plays.
yes,
Ta-ra.
From
Goodbye.
us, I'm Luke, and see ya.
I'm Dan. Goodbye.